There's that funky live guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live at 5 on the Evil FB network. Rumble, YouTube, all that good stuff. Check us out. Subscribe. Type in iNews or Roy Bleckert. You'll see my nice, smiling, shining face coming across all the airwaves as we're doing today. Lots of stuff going on. Hopefully we'll have Susan Shelley on at the bottom of the hour when we join the mighty KMET. Tons of stuff going on. We'll get back into more of the minutia of the birthright citizenship controversy, the Netcase OnlyFans that were on top of the Empire State Building, delve deeper a little bit more into, why we should have sex offenders serving in public office in California. And is that a great idea? On top of more interesting topics. But lead story of the day, we thought Mr. Edwards had won the BC 39 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the temporary quarter-mile dirt track midget race, which they're having another tonight. But here's the last lap. And he led this thing, I think, pretty much wire to wire, but here we go. We thought.
Back straightaway, lap cars dead ahead to turns 3 and 4, but it's not going to matter. The checkered flag is out, and Drake Edwards is a winner at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Well, he was for a little bit. He got the checkered flag and the accolades going in. But we woke up this morning to Drake Edwards DQ'd from Tuesday's BC 39 win. Seems like, and you get into the minutia of this stuff, you have a rev limiter, RPMs, limits RPMs of that. Apparently USAC, the sanctioning body, determined that he was cheating. Probably the first time this has ever happened in the auto racing industry, ha ha ha. But they disqualified Drake Edwards from the win, gave it to Kevin Thomas Jr., who finished second. So now Kevin Thomas Jr. is an official Indianapolis Motor Speedway winner, winning the BC 39. You can catch that on Flow Racing if you have the subscription to it, which I highly recommend, along with Dirt Vision and others. You want to catch World Outlaws and things like that. It's a heck of a, you can see racing, as they say, all over the place. This is Wednesday night. And along with the BC 39, what else is racing? This is happening in the short tracks all across America. 360s at Silver Dollar Speedway up in Chico, California, promoted by the NASCAR star Kyle Larson. PA Speed Week, Pennsylvania Speed Week at Port Royal Speedway, along with USAC Racing again tonight at Indianapolis, as they say. Let's see if there's anything on the pavement schedule for tonight. Yes, the NASCAR Whalen Modified Tour is at Seekonk Speedway in Massachusetts. That ought to be a hellraiser. Probably my favorite pavement series, NASCAR Whalen Modified Tour, Modifieds at Bowling Gray, Smart Tour that runs in the southern half of that. NASCAR Modifieds, oldest first sanctioning body by Big Bill France. So a lot of history with those. Big tires, lots of horsepower, badass drivers, probably the best pavement series, at least. Maybe 1A to Super Modifieds, but right in there You'll catch that tonight at Seekonk Speedway in Massachusetts. A lot of talk. We got the whole birthright citizenship 5-4, which was actually much better than I thought. It could have been 819072. Affirming birthright citizenship. It was only 5-4, which means you're that close. Not only counts in horseshoes and cigars, I guess. A lot of talk about constitutional amendments. And here's the big deal. Here's the map. You have 18 legislatures controlled by Democrats, 28 controlled by Republicans. That would be your state legislatures, which would be the equivalent of the House and the Senate. There's different names as you go nationally. But most states have 2 legislatures. That's what they're talking about. So Republicans have 28. Democrats have 18. 4 are divided control. Maybe one house is Republican, one is Democrat. Mind you need 34. 34 states just to call the Constitutional Convention. If you want to change birthright citizenship or whatever. So even if all the Republican red states, and even if you got the split control, the 4 that, you're only at 32. You would have to have 2 Democratic states on top, and that's if you got all the Republicans, all the split controls to call it. Where would that might be? Possibly Nevada, maybe slightly New Mexico or Colorado, but you're getting iffy. Then, Illinois is not going to do it. California, the whole left coast, California, Oregon, Washington, don't see that in the cards at all. Plus the East Coast, New York, Virginia, Maine, Vermont, all that stuff. You're not going to make it. So, you'd possibly Nevada, you'd have to pick off one of Colorado and New Mexico, and we'll get to that, why Colorado probably is an even tougher sell. So, it's not as easy as a lot of people think. Then on top of that, once you get the 34 to call the Constitutional Convention, you have to have 38 states or 75% ratify it. And or you have to have 2/3 of the House and Senate of the Congress of the United States. Very, very high bars to get a constitutional amendment. I don't know. I hope they clean it up or do it in the Congress and say, hey, birthright citizenship means you're born to parents of the United States, not coming in illegals. That sets up an interesting constitutional convention because you have Article 1 that says Congress has complete authority over any part of immigration. You have the 14th Amendment, which 5 of the 4 said, that. So if Congress passes it, it's going back to the Supreme Court. Can you flip one of Roberts? Hardly. Barrett, maybe a slightly better chance. Sotomayor, Jackson, and Kagan, almost 0. Now, of course, we've had the report that was retracted that Alito was going to retire. Well, that's a push. With the 3 that are in their 70s, Alito, Thomas, and Sotomayor. Thomas being 78, just had a birthday the other day. Alito 76, Sotomayor 72. Sotomayor would be the one. She's had a lot of health problems. I think diabetes or something has been reported. But not wishing any ill will or something on anyone. But just in the age factor of dying or what. If Alito or Thomas resign, which a lot of people are advocating for, so Trump can appoint their replacements. Which I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but then you're putting those two votes that are solidly against the other day ruling of birthright citizenship. You're putting them in peril. But let's just say even if they stay good, you still got to pick off a Sotomayor, a Barrett, a Roberts, or somebody to do this. Now, Kavanaugh suggested this. It's going to be interesting. We'll see how the elections shake out as we go forward. You know, the legislatures could switch or peel around. Republicans could gain some more. Democrats could. Maybe there'll be more splits. Who knows? It's a very volatile election season. So that's what we're here to report on. This and much, much more as we delve in to the rest of today's show. So Colorado had their primary elections. They went left severely on their governor pick. Longtime Senator Bennett out. They put the lefty attorney general in, which is almost assured to win the governorship of Colorado. Hickenlooper is going to probably get another term, but he had another DSA challenge, which was about 55-45. But the DSA challenger won Denver, the main spot. The other, what surprised many, but not some of us who have been warning about this, another domino has fallen. Get the right one up here. Democratic Communist sees victory in another solidly blue district as former attorney Malat Kiros defeated 30-year representative Diana Delgette in Colorado. 30 years she's been in Congress. An upstart, unknown attorney on the Democratic Communist ticket kicked her ass, and that was mainly the Denver area. That's what I said. Now they're moving into the smaller cities. This is no longer just a LA, Seattle, Chicago, New York. They're working down to the more medium-sized cities and taking over, seizing power and control. The communists are running unfettered. If they take over the population areas, all of us all out in the hinterlands or the suburbs are, you know what, gonna take it right in the rear end. Grab your frickin' ankles because you know what's coming next. Either get off your dead asses and get in the political ballgame. Not tacking on your little 3x5 screen or computer. Get to your frickin' city councils, school boards, legislators, and get in their frickin' face. If you're not, you are part of the problem. Period. End of frickin' story. Get in the game. Get your candidates elected. Get out there and thump it. Get out there and put a little shoe leather in, time, resources, dollars into getting your candidates elected locally, because your local candidates are 98.7%, which are going to be moved up the ladder. So again, Get off your frickin' dead asses and get in the ball game. Get off the computer. Get off the frickin' phone. No, again, say what you want, but I got the credentials and the evidence to back up what I'm saying and the proof that I've been doing it for decades. It's time the rest of you, again, get off your frickin' dead asses and get in the ball game, in the arena, or you're gonna, again, you're gonna say I love it when you're grabbing your ankles and you're taking it in the ass. No excuses. No if-ors. Get it, get after it, and get it the frick done. The communists are doing. Here's the deal. Melissa Murray put this up. 2026 midterms. Americans versus the communists. That's as succinct as it gets. For all the talk and the haywires and the hoo-haws, this is the head of NVIDIA. You think Musk is in? NVIDIA is probably the wealthiest capitalized company in the world. They're the tech leader. Here's what the head of NVIDIA has on Condoleezza Rice. Here we go.
America has core foundations. You know, we spoke a little bit about it. The American dream has a core foundation. There's a reason why it exists. There's a purpose that drives it. There's a promise of it. There are pillars that keeps it up. When you see the world from my lens, when you see America from my lens, and when you see America now today as I travel around the world and see America from the lens of everywhere I've been and the countries that aspire to be us, the industries that would aspire to want to be part of our industry. You know, it is just genuinely a miracle.
It is a miracle. And I very often, I teach young people, of course. And sometimes I think that some of this has gotten lost. There is something.
It's gotten lost because jackasses like Condoleezza Rice go around and pontificate and that. Instead of getting in people's frickin' face, get in those young people's face and get in the media's face. Don't hide behind a Stanford University crap. NVIDIA guy, get in people's face and tell them this is why America's great, not all the reasons why the communists want to kill us economically and everything else. God, where's the frickin' balls in America? It's distressingly going away.
About this risk-taking, this willing to fail, the fact that you are in a place where you'll get a second chance, the role of free speech, the role of laws that are reliable, that is really quite extraordinary.
Exactly. We have a word for that. We call it freedom.
We call it freedom. And start saying it. Start getting back in these people's faces that's communist and saying not no, but hell no. We're not doing stupid. We're not destroying America. We're not having unfettered illegal immigration in a frickin' welfare state. It's stupidity. You're going to wreck the country. You're going to strip most of the 350 million of their wealth if you keep on this path. The path to success is not, we're going to take a gun and point it at somebody else and give it to someone else. The path to freedom, success, is you get to keep the fruits of your labor. You get to own your property, not some Antifa puke deciding, oh, I'm just going to go over and take your property. Screw you. I don't have to pay you or compensate for it. I want it. You got it. I'm going to take it. Stick it up your ass. And that's what the NVIDIA guy and Condoleezza Rice got to stop staying and stop penny waiting around all this stuff. No more emotion. Emotion has erected us to this point. We've got to stop that at least until we start peeling the pendulum back with reality. And those in the retarded half of the population got to say, hey, this is the way it's going to be. If you can't handle it, go turn the other way. Don't pay attention. Let us dummies handle it. The problem in society today, and especially in America, is there's just not enough telling it like it is. This, and you know what? This is what we're going to do. You can holler and scream. You can throw a hissy fit in the middle of the street. Have at it. You know what's going to happen if you throw a hissy fit in the middle of the street? You're most likely to get run over and be dead. So knock yourself out. But we're not doing stupid anymore. Period. End of frickin' story. Chapter's closed. Book has been written. We're executing the plan. Part of the turmoil and everything that goes wrong or out of kilter in society could just be summed up with that. We're losing our frickin' balls. Every day we're getting stripped of it. And the ones that are doing it know full well what they're doing. And they're doing it to control you. That goes to a lot of the people, this goes to both sides of the aisle, all political perspectives, all ethnicities, every walk of life, every income level. If you want to preserve freedom, if you want to have opportunity, you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to get after it. If you don't like what's happening politically, then you are going to have to change it. And you are going to have to get in the game. In the arena. Not watching on your 3x5 screen or the computer or the TV or whatever. Getting in the arena, in the ball game, in the lion's den, and look the lion in the face and say, you know what, MFer, it's going to be you or me. The problem is we don't have enough people that are willing. We have some people that will talk like that. But they will not go down to their local city council every week, if it takes that, or county board of supervisors, state legislature, and say that, and stand up for that, and work to put those policies in place.
25 seconds, 25 seconds. Susan's on the line.
And just Jesse said, would you be joining the Mighty Met KMET with the very famous Susan Shelley coming up, and we'll get into the interesting events that have happened in the
4
last
seconds.
year.
Here we go.
Today, IE Newswire Daily is on the air. The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live at 5:30 on the Mighty Red 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the format today, man. Join our vast video audience on the Evil FB Network. YouTube, check us out, subscribe, type in Newswire Roy Bleckert. You'll see my nice, smiling, shining face and get my very poignant message that I've delivered to everybody in the first half hour of the show. Lots of that. Birthright citizenship. Well, when you win one and you take the checkered flag and you kiss the trophy girl in victory lane, well, the next day you wake up and hey, you're out. Go check out the BC 49 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and all that they're running tonight, along with other short tracks. Go participate. If you're going to do something fun, do something Americana, get out of the house, do something. We have that. But as we usually do on a Wednesday, we have the famed editorial writer, columnist for the Press Enterprise, San Bernardino Sun, Inland Daily Bulletin, Redlands Daily Facts, more important to me, Vice President of Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, Susan Shelley. Welcome to Newswire with Roy.
Thank you, Roy. Great to be with you.
So as we came on last week, Prop 13, say Prop 13 was on the ballot, yada, yada, yada. Then came the next day, Thursday, and a tumultuous week of stuff and speculation. Tell everybody where we're at, what's going to be on the ballot, and where we go forward, Susan Shelley.
Well, it was a wild couple of days. The governor wanted to make a deal with us, and he wouldn't offer anything that was better than our initiative. So Don Kupal said no, and that was effective as of Thursday morning. He said no, and then an hour and a half later, the governor came back with another deal. And what he offered to HJTA was substitute out your initiative for a legislative constitutional amendment by a two-thirds vote in each house that makes it harder to raise taxes. It fully closes the upland loophole so that it's always two-thirds for local special taxes again. And that was really good, but it still wasn't better than our initiative. And then they offered something else. They said they would remove from the ballot something that was really hostile to us, which was ACA 13. This was a poison pill that was passed a few years ago to try to kill the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act. And the way it was going to kill it is, if it passed, then our measures, our taxpayer protection measures, would require a two-thirds vote statewide in order to pass, instead of the 50% plus one that all ballot measures need forever. Ours alone would need a much higher vote threshold. And that was a real poison pill for us, because if they had found a way to pass that, our measure, even if it got 64% of the vote, would have failed. So we had to get that off the ballot, so that's what we did. What they wanted in exchange was for us to drop the ban, the retroactive repeal of existing taxes. So we dropped the transfer tax portion and the retroactivity. That's what they wanted. And in exchange, we got a two-thirds vote of the legislature to make it harder to raise taxes, to put our clean measure back on the ballot. And then we got our poison pill off the ballot, so we have a clear path to pass it. And that's what happened. It was a very rocky day on Thursday as we went back and forth. No one trusted anybody. Everybody was at the Secretary of State's office saying, you go first. It was very dramatic.
So do we have a proposition number yet for the new measure that's on the ballot?
We sure do. It is yes on Prop 43.
43. Okay, well, that's...
43. That's the Local Taxpayer Protection Act, save Prop 13. Yes on Prop 43.
Maybe we can get the King Richard Petty to come out from North Carolina and endorse Prop 43. I think that would be very appropriate on that sense.
Oh, good idea.
So we'll take it. We'll see if we can make that happen. You know, everything's up, and this is the situation we're in California. Back in the Prop 13 days in 78, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, we wouldn't have had this negotiation stuff going on. It qualified, it was
Yeah.
on, it went in, we passed it. There wasn't all this other rigmarole or we're going to try to kill it or anything. Sans almost 50 years, coming close to that, 50 years later, this is what we're dealing with in California. And really, the cancer of California of this is spread across the other 49 states. And this is what we're dealing with. And this is what we got to try to. Hopefully, this will be the impetus of getting this in this negotiation. And I'm saying, okay, it's probably a good thing that it came about this way, because at least we know what the parameters we're doing for. And not only passing Prop 43, we'll know what challenges are ahead of us in the future, Susan Shelley.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It did not used to be like this. There was a law that was passed somewhere around 2016, 2018, that changed, maybe it was 2014, that changed the rules and said that proponents can pull a measure from the ballot after it has officially become eligible. After all the signatures are verified and it's already eligible, they can pull it until the last day that the Secretary of State has to certify the ballot. This set up this whole legislative negotiation process. The legislature wrote into this law that they have to be notified when it's at 25% signatures so they can be ready, and then they have to have a hearing to discuss what it is, and they have an opportunity to write something else that will persuade the proponents to take it off the ballot. Of course, the other flip side of that is it's not just offer, it's also threaten. So the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association was threatened, and we didn't give in to that. We walked away on Thursday morning and said, take your best shot, do what you want. But they were threatening all kinds of things. Like, no one will ever fund you again, and it will be all right, and that kind of thing. So that's what happens, is that you've got, first of all, the old system was people could pull it before they filed the signatures with the county. That saved a lot of work and money for the taxpayers. Now, the counties have to verify all the signatures on these things which are really just designed to be negotiating chips. Now, ours wasn't designed to be a negotiating chip, but a lot of people turned it into one. And they were talking about combination deals with the billionaire tax and these other measures and a grand bargain. And, we weren't interested in any of that. We want to close the upland loophole. That's what we started out to do, and that's what we have. It's Prop 43, closing the loophole.
So looking forward, and this is along top with the priority of getting voter ID and 43 passed, we got to knock out 7 seats in the Assembly, 4 in the Senate, just to get the supermajority out, so they can't be passing ACA 13s and poison pills and this negotiating thing going in, which just complicates or makes that. Again, if we were back in the Prop 13 days, it would be on the ballot, we would vote on it, and then we would go on to the next election doing this. Now with this convoluted stuff and having the super duper majority of communists in our legislature and a screwball governor, we're down to this point, and it's probably a good thing that you had that. At least you could give up the provision of the transfer tax. If that wasn't in there, we, all of us, HJTA, would have probably really been screwed in this deal, Susan Shelley.
Well, yes, we were at risk of being just defeated, either defeated straight out because they were going to spend so much money against us, and they can do that. They have all the money in the world on the other side, so they could have done commercials that made the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association sound like the Third Reich, and we didn't want that. So, we would have toughed it out anyway, even if they'd tried that, because we think, really, there's no such thing as bad publicity. But we didn't really want that. We didn't want millions and millions of dollars spent against our measure. We wanted to have a relatively smooth, clear path to pass it, to get the word out that this makes it harder to raise taxes, yes, on Prop 43. And that's what we've got.
Onward and upward, this is what we got. Along with the 43 and the voter ID, we really got to start working not only our legislature, city council, school boards, and all that. And we got to start knocking this stuff back down. Else we're gonna fight this deal. As I propose, we need to, And it's probably good we work this thing out, but if we're going to get it to, as I propose, 2/3 vote on any tax raise and no questions, none of this stuff, at least, to get to that, we've got more work to do, in my opinion. But switching gears, on that one of your columns this week, why President Trump is right to push the Save America Act, Susan Shelley.
Well, our elections are not all that reliable in the United States, and they're not all that reliable in California. Now, 36 states currently have voter ID laws, but the biggest states don't. New York, Illinois, California, we do not have voter ID. And this affects the governance of the whole country because of the congressional races, and it affects the Electoral College because of the presidential races. So it's really important that we have clean elections. And the Save America Act would require every state to verify the citizenship of newly registered voters, which currently California does not at all, totally on the honor system, nobody checks. And it would also require a photo ID for everyone who votes. If we had that, it would clean up our elections. It would be much more reliable. It would be a lot better. And so I don't know why the senators don't see this. I mean, maybe they just we don't need to make waves. Everything's really basically fine. Let's go to the country club. Maybe that's how they're in California. We'll fix the voter ID thing ourselves with an initiative. But why not pass the Save America Act in Washington, get the president's signature on it, and clean up the elections from coast to coast? I think it's very important, and he's absolutely right.
I think so too. My question is, with the Voter ID Act in California and the photo ID, and hopefully that goes through, my question is, and maybe or that, how do you have mail-in ballots with a voter ID? How does that not de facto pretty much eliminate the voter or the mail-in ballot thing? Because my question is, if that passes, how are you going to have a photo ID with a mail-in ballot, Susan Shelley?
Well, you wouldn't use a photo ID directly with mail-in ballot. What you would use is the last 4 digits of your driver's license, state ID, or social security number, or some other type of ID that the state could issue. Right now, if you go to the county website to verify, the Secretary of State's website to check your voter registration status, they ask you for a number like that. They ask you for your name and your residential address, and then they want some kind of a verification so they know it's you asking for that information. Well, that's exactly the same database that would be matched with voter ID. You would write not just your signature and the date on the envelope, but you would write your 4-digit ID or a 4-digit PIN number that they could assign. You would write some identifiable number. And our editorial board for the Orange County Register and the Riverside Press Enterprise had a conversation with LA County Registrar Dean Logan last week. And we asked him, if we had this, where someone had to write a 4-digit number, would that speed up the processing of absentee ballots? And he said it absolutely would. Well, actually, he said it might. And the more he talked about it, it was clear that it would. And the reason is because matching a signature is very difficult, especially since people are now squiggling their signatures on DMV touchscreens. But if everybody had a 4-digit number, then once you match the number, you know you've got one ballot from one voter, it's authentic, on it goes, and you can count it. And that would speed things up. So it would work very well, I think. And once we have voter ID, all the rest of it would really be okay. Even accepting the ballots after Election Day, which I really wish the Supreme Court had cut off, but they didn't. So we're going to continue to accept ballots for 7 days after the election. Nonetheless, if you can at least verify that each ballot is from one eligible, authentic voter, that's a big improvement.
I would say so. At least that would go a long way to cleaning up this whole, we've all seen the films of Skid Row in LA and all the others, of the whole voter fraud or just signing people up, walking down the street and stuff. And that would at least give us some verification when it's coming in, not just, yeah, we can put a X mark and a squiggly line as somebody delivered it, and this is coming in 7 days after the election and all that. I mean, the whole thing needs reforming, and I think that if we got some sort of verification with the mail-in ballots, I think that would go a long ways to cleaning up the system we have right now, which is just untenable. Susan.
Absolutely, because right now you have a situation where people can pick up a stack of undelivered mail ballots, vote them all, squiggle a signature, and a number of them are going to get through. And we don't know how often that happens. I did ask Registrar Dean Logan about voter impersonation at the polls, because I'm well aware that there's nothing that stopped it, but I wanted to hear it from him. So I mentioned that we had seen this video of people with the voter fraudsters with the voter file instructing street people to sign someone else's name and address. And I asked him if someone goes into the polls in a similar type of scheme and gives someone else's name, address, and birth date, what's in place to prevent that or to catch it? And there was a long pause. And the answer was, there's nothing. The only thing you would have is possibly the real voter would vote later, and then you'd have a situation of double voting. But obviously, they're only going to count one. Which one are they going to count? Well, the second one has to vote provisionally. They're going to count the first one. Because the way they verify a provisional ballot is the voter registered? Did the voter already vote? Somebody did. So that's the problem. Voter impersonation at the polls is completely impossible to prevent, detect, find, prosecute, or reverse. You can't get those ballots. Even if you turn around and say, I lied to you, you can't get that ballot out of the count. So we have to do, voter ID fixes that, we have to fix that.
Yes, that's a big thing. Once you separate the ballot from the envelope, it's really game over as far as that. There is no verification. There's no way you can go back and verify anything once you've done that process, and that's where we're at right now, is there is really no, I think like you said, the pregnant pause from the LA registration guy when you guys brought it up of that. I mean, I inherently think they know there's big problems with it. They probably don't want to say that because of the political climate in California right now. But, it's another one of these deals that we have to address here in the future, or we're going even if we take one step forward, we're going to go two back. Your other column this week, the real race for the 2028 Olympics will be LA taxpayers running from the bill. Susan Shelley.
I'm buying my running shoes right now to get ready to run away from the tax increase after the Olympics, because it's coming. Here's the problem. LA signed a host city agreement that makes it the guarantor of the games. So the games have a $7 billion budget. If they can only raise $5 billion from advertising and sponsorships, ticket sales, and they spend if they raise $5 billion and they have a $2 billion deficit, here's the plan. The first $270 million of patching up that deficit comes from the city of Los Angeles. The second $270 million comes from the state of California. And then every dollar of deficit after that is on the city taxpayers of Los Angeles. So this is a pretty bad situation.
It is. I mean, again, what wasn't it Peter Ueberroth, 40 years ago? The only guy that actually made a profit on running the Olympics in Los Angeles. This is where we're at, 40 plus years later. Now it's turning into a complete, almost, it looks like going to be train wreck of epidemic proportions, Susan Shelley.
Oh, it absolutely is. The 1984 contract protected the city taxpayers much more strongly, and the city enacted a 6%. The extra police and the rest of the traffic and the trash sanitation stuff, they enacted a 6% ticket tax on Olympic tickets to cover all of that. And I think they also did a temporary hotel tax increase to cover the expenses of the Olympics, and they came out fine. Well, when the council decided this year they were going to talk to the Olympics people about doing a ticket tax, guess what? LA 28, the organizing committee said, oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, no. You want the tickets to be affordable. You don't want to be loading them up with taxes. So they were persuaded, and they didn't do a ticket tax. And then out come the ticket prices with a 24% service charge, which goes right back to LA 28. So much for affordable. So the city council was very angry, and they talked about doing a ticket tax anyway, but I don't think they got it done in time. It would have to be on the November ballot, and I don't think they got that done in time. So I think we're just going to get hosed, honestly. We have all these expenses, all this liability. We're the financial guarantor of the 2028 Summer Games. All the revenue is private. All the debts are public. What a mess.
Now more than ever, tell them why they should join HJTA Go.
The Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association is protecting you and making it harder to raise your taxes. So join HJTA. Go to hjta.org. Be a member of this great organization. Sign up for the free email alerts. Stay informed as we go through this election year. I think there's 14 state measures on the ballot, and then all the local measures, and then all the candidate races. Lots to keep track of. We'll help you through it. hjta.org.
Thanks for being on, Susan. We'll do it again next week.
Thanks so much, Roy.
Susan Shelley, Vice President of Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association and columnist extraordinaire for the Southern California News Group. So what happens when you dollar bills, crooks, and strip clubs? Oh my.
Walked out of a Kearney Mesa strip club with more than $25,000 in cash. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto. Marcella is off tonight. The theft happened early Monday morning at Expose. That's a gentleman's club on Kearney Villa Road. That's where we find News 8's Steffi Roche, who talked to the club's owner tonight. And Steffi, I understand that owner has a theory on this theft.
That's right. The owner of Expose says yesterday morning.
I can't wait for the theory. I think we can all figure out what's going on, but I'm curious what the hell the theory of this is.
Morning, over $25,000 in $1 bills was stolen from the club, and he believes this was an inside job.
No. 25. I wonder how long it takes them to acquire 25 grand in $1 bills at the Gentleman's Club, as they call it. That they try to put this nice spin. We know what's going on in there. It's a basically legalized house of ill repute. Quit candy coating stuff. Here we go.
Dino Palmitto, the owner of Expose, shared this surveillance video with News 8. You can see a man jumping the fence onto their patio and breaking in Monday around 5 a.m.
When he came in, he knew exactly where to go. We believe he was on the phone with somebody.
Palmitto tells me every staff member with access to the safe has their own code tied to their name. While he says he does not recognize the person on surveillance, he says the thief used a code that was linked to a former manager who had been fired 2 months ago. He believes the former manager gave the code to the thief. And in a flash, the thief loaded up a duffel bag and he
This sounds flakier than a $3 bill. You fired a former manager and he had the codes. Obviously, that's cool. You know, you're going to have that. You didn't take this guy's code 2 months after he's been gone out of the security deal so this guy could use it and walk in. I don't know. This gets even weirder. Here we go.
was gone with $25,300 in ones.
As a small business owner and a former Marine, there's absolutely no way that we can let this go. We've got to stop these people.
Palmitto had additional security sensors installed throughout his club when we met with him today. He's also offering a reward for anyone who can help catch the thief.
Did you catch that VIP dances part? Let's see. There it is. VIP dances. as you look at that. This stuff is absolutely, I don't know. I'm not buying the premise of the whole thing. It sounds flakier again, the whole thing, than a $3 bill. But we shall see how this all works out. Again, is this guy that's smart enough to have 25 grand? How much did the ladies get of the $1 bills that go? I don't know. Again. Oh, we got to stop this stuff. Why didn't you take the former manager that you fired, released, quit, or whatever happened? Why didn't you take his 4-digit code or whatever out of the deal so this guy couldn't walk in? Gentlemen's club, VIP dances. We all know what's going on in there. Dudes are coming in there looking for sex. They're willing to pay for it. We need to stop all this stuff that we're going, let's put legalized prostitution in certain areas with, we're checking out the girls, have them tested, yada, 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 condoms used in that. And let's quit playing this freaking pretend game. This has been going on since all of recorded human history, and you're not stopping it. You don't care how or what. You can sign all the laws. You can pray in church or whatever. It's going to go on. Let's deal with it like they do, except in Clark County and Washoe County in Nevada. Let's be realistic. Maybe we got a fighting chance if we do that. That'll do it for today. But as we usually say at this time, mandatory, you're back here in 71 hours, or 23 hours, while I'm moving myself up. 23 hours, hear the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
All right. Have a great night.
We'll see you.